Well, I'm back. I did so much in between these two episodes. It's gonna take a while to run you through all this stuff. But rest assured, it was worth it. Now, as I'm in the house, let's start here. I traded out another one of these furnaces for an alloy furnace. Alright, because I don't really need more furnaces, but alloy furnaces, maybe. Now in here, there is significantly less stuff, because I decided to start creating silver and redstone. I did so manually, just to free up a little bit of space. And if I need some additional silver or redstone at some point, I'll just, grab a sucker out of here and then just right-click them. There it goes. I also took the liberty to create some nether wart, sticky resin, and a little bit of the rubber excess that I have. So there's quite a bit of sticky resin here if something should happen to my crops. Speaking of something happening to these crops, I've actually had to repair this area by, retilling little squares and putting down crops, and then, trying to get them to crossbreed, and they're filled back in again, and I had to do that 3 or 4 times, because unfortunately, thermic slimes, they're just spawning over here, and I'd find them in one of these corners, and they'd have broken a bunch of my tilled land, and they're nuisances, they're little nuisances, and I was trying to figure out, why are they spawning over here, what's going on? I found out that thermic slimes adhere to slime chunkery. So this is actually a slime chunk, and I installed a mod to help me find out exactly where these slime chunks were. That mod is called Ray's Minimap, and as you can see, it's got some neat mappage here. It's like an RPG map, kind of reminds me of like World of Warcraft. It's just jammed up in the top right there, and it has little representations of the entire land. It's highly configurable. But I did that off camera, and, it's hideable too, so I'm not going to always have it on, but I might leave it on occasionally, just because it is really cool looking. And the nice thing about this is I have it divided into chunk grids. So you can see here that I have the little grids in here, and if I zoom in, it's more apparent that there are little, like, blocks, and these chunks here. Now, significance of this chunk over here being darker is that it is a slime chunk. And slimes could spawn in this chunk. So I needed to do something to prevent them from spawning. Well, they're not going to spawn on fences. They're not going to spawn on farmland that's occupied by stuff. And they're not going to spawn on half slabs. But they would have spawned on this wood here. So I replaced this wood right here with half slabbery. And then I just did it up to where the chunk boundaries are. And I actually made something to help myself find the chunk boundaries. This right here is chunk loader. Although now they're called teleport tethers. It takes 8 iron and 1 lapis, and you get 4. What you do is you place one down, like I have. It doesn't have an interface, but if you're inside the chunk that you want to place it and you want to see the chunk boundaries, what you do is you press the hotkey. I have it set to F7. I press that and I could see the chunk boundaries. So it's inside this chunk, and it actually is loading every adjacent chunk, so 9 total chunks always loaded. There are other ways to load chunks, but, I don't really leave this area. The reason why I put it here is just so I could see the boundaries of the chunk. And as you can see, right here is the boundary of it, and I made certain that everything here was a slab so they don't spawn on them. Come over to this part. Also slabs, up to this point. So all the blocks within this chunk should not be able to spawn slimes. With the exception, it looks like, of these 2, 4, and 6. So I suppose they could spawn up here and jump up. I don't know how likely that is. They could always spawn right under this stuff, but who cares? If they do, they're just going to fall into the water. And they can't swim, they just sink like a big annoying blue rock. Guess I'll just leave torches on there so they don't spawn. That's pretty ugly, but it should work. They can't physically spawn on top of a torch, is the reasoning there. I think if I put 2 half slabs, it counts as a full block. Anyway, I'm going to hide those chunks. But as you can see, I can also see them on my mini-map, so that's nice. And there are several more slime chunks around this area, if I want to look around. Several in this region. Of course, all of them significantly away from all of my stuff. But there are quite a few slime chunks around here. And it just so happens there's only actually one on the island. And it's not really on the island, it's on this area I built off of it. It's kind of my fault there. I didn't think ahead to the whole slime chunk thing. Anyway, right here, I extended this and threw a bunch of sugarcane in here in a very specific manner, because I'm going to put something here. I'll get to that in a minute, but I'm just going to tell you about that since I'm sure you already saw it. Now come over to my relays. I upgraded Kleiny again, because I had a fairly significant amount of EMC. You can see inside this thing, I still have 12 million that I was just waiting around for me to use. And I did use some of it. First I made myself a vulcanite amulet because, well, I made something downstairs that uses a significant amount of lava, and I really didn't want to have to go get a bunch of lava buckets each time. So I made this with 3 dark matter that I got out of Kleiny, and since I really didn't want to go and have to get lava, I'm just tired of doing it, I got the lava buckets out of Kleiny too. And this guy, you can just right-click and put lava down, but as it's dangerous, I'm not going to do that on my base. Oh no! No, that was a left click. Just kidding. I also did some underwater construction. So I made something, the Evertide Amulet, which was just water buckets and 3 dark matter. And this thing allows me to breathe underwater, but it also seems to have the interesting side effect of, when paired with smart movement, of allowing you to swim inordinately fast. Pretty much flying underwater. See, watch. Wee, flying! And I come out and it's just like a dolphin. A whale. I'm breaching! So yeah, I think that's a glitch. But you could swim pretty fast, pretty quickly if you want. Looks a little funny at times. It does, but... Well, it kept me alive while I was down there on my construction project. And now I'm kind of like Aquaman. Yeah! Da, da, da. Minus the ability to talk to fish. You see, I moved my cobblegen. It's gone. It's just gone. But I did replace it, okay? I still have cobblegens. If you come down here, you see I have a cobblegen control lever. And I did make a cobblegen down here, so check it out. This entire downstairs was remodeled. I put stone bricks in the walls everywhere, and light gray lumars in the ceiling and floors. So this room over here, I just moved it out, and I just prettied it up. Come below the floor here, you can see that there's some wiring and a lever to turn them all off, which you shouldn't do because it's crazy dark if you do that. And I don't want monsters spawning in the UCB. It's just not good for business. But now this cabling right here was also changed. If I bust through the wall here, which is not generally a good idea, you can see that I have my one timer here on the 0.5 second interval, and it's just sending its signal through this tube. So I don't actually have to run cables everywhere. I can just connect these redstone tubes directly to the objects I need to power. And they also go over here through the ceiling that I covered up, comes over here, and, you know, ticks this thing as well. Which I had to tell it to only pull out diamonds, otherwise it would start taking out the tungsten before it was down converted. And right here there's a chest, just a little chest that I put all my red power junk in because I really didn't... I can't just stuff all that crap in my bag anymore, especially when I only ever really use it down here. This bag here was starting to fill up with junk. Now, as for the rest of this place, you can see that I expanded it. There's quite a bit of space remaining, and it's all reserved. That's great. Now, I also added some things here, and you can see this is a satellite pipe. This is my first satellite pipe, and I can't get into this chest, but that doesn't matter, because all 4 of these crafting tables can get to it. Now I added in iron pickaxes because I wanted to use them to make block breakers, which I did pull out of the system. And I had to tell it to get the iron pickaxes, which do not stack, from this chest. Or rather, just to put it in the chest, because once it's in the chest, this crafting table can see it and pull from it. Likewise, to make a mining well, I also need the iron pickaxe in this chest. Here I just have it making tanks so that I can make pumps. And I also decided to allow it to make carpenters and igniters, which require flint and steel, which also do not stack. So that's the 3rd one on this satellite pipe. I told it to make tin gears. I was just kind of telling it to make stuff at this point. We'll eventually want some electrical engines, which are just tin engines. And then I also told it to make apiaries, which no, I will not be using because there are no bees. So why'd I tell it to make it? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Anyway, see this right here? I just opened up the floor so you could see my massive cobble gens. There are 6 cobble gens right here, and they are currently off, but they will receive power through these redstone tubes. And I used my amulets to help me make this. And actually, I dug out an entire new area right here that is completely bereft of things, excepting this chest right here. That is the cobble gen chest. So this room will utilize the cobble gen in some industrious manner. But as you could see, it's right under the water. You can see on my minimap it's actually right under the Sugarcane Farm, which is not operational yet. But I also have a nice view out there, and I put some redstone lamps out there just so that I could have some nice lighting, and it just looks so beautiful. It's a beautiful little area. But this area will be used shortly, and my cobble gens will be the focal point of that room. So yeah, I prettied up this basement area. It looks really nice. I expanded it just for space, and got some nice lumars up here, so I think that's quite a bit of stuff. I suppose I haven't mentioned this yet, but this system now knows what to do with iron blocks and diamond blocks, which I thought it. Now actually, when I was making that cobble gen, I remember I did not yet have the Evertide amulet. So what I did is I ended up making myself 2 additions to industrial craft that I've had on here for a bit, but I just now made them. Useful little objects called the hand pump and the wet dry vac. The hand pump was simply just bronze, rubber, and empty cell, and the wet dry vac was actually rubber, rechargeable battery, and a pump from industrial craft, which was a little annoying to make. These things deal with empty cells and water cells, and what happens is the hand pump can take a water cell in your inventory, and if you right-click it, it'll place it out as a water source block. And it took 1 water cell to do this, and it converted it into an empty cell. Now the wet dry vac can do just the opposite. If you right-click a water source, it takes an empty cell and turns it into a water cell, and takes the source block from the world. So this is a useful way to just avoid using tons of water buckets. And honestly, while I was over here, filling these areas with water, in between the sugarcane lanes, Sugarcane Lane, Sugarcane Lane, I think that's a song from the 80s. Anyway, I was using this, and I simply would go to a water source and just refill it. Now this wet dry vac, you see, it does need to be recharged, but it could take some punishment. And the eerie thing about the wet dry vac is it can actually be used on a few other things. For one, you can use it on lava source blocks to get lava cells and remove the lava. Now this wet dry vac could also be used on a few other things. Namely, you can right-click and hold down to suck up a good amount of gravel fairly quickly. So this is a nice mining tool if you should come into contact with gravel. And of course, it simply puts it in your inventory. Now the same could be done with sand here. This is a very nice way to collect sand if you don't have any other special tools to do so. Like if I hadn't made the destruction catalyst, this would have been the go-to to harvest sand when I was transmuting it. Or, you know, say you live by a big desert, you want to start up your peat bog, make one of these suckers and just suck the desert up. Of course, you can only get about 2.5 stacks before you need to recharge the wet dry vac, but it is a lot faster than shoveling it up. Now, of course, in between episodes, I also went out and did some mining, because I'd like to do mining with relative frequency, and I was, you know, frankly, just playing with the mining laser again. That stuff's like industrial crack, you know? And right here, this is the squeezer. I had used this thing quite a bit. I believe I made 2 of them, and there's 30 machines with tin on the sides. So the second one's in here. And I used them to turn my apples into juice cans, which I will use shortly. Now, I used most of my apples, and I believe I had about 5 or so stacks, and I got about a little over 1 stack of juice cans. I'm going to use this in the production of biomass. And down here, I got something called seed oil. Took a good amount of the seed surplus from here and turned it into seed oil. Of course, there's still more of it, and these saplings are building up like never before right now. So that seed oil is going to also be used in the production of biomass, which I'm going to get to quite soon. As you can see, a good amount of peat and ash built up. There really was a good amount of time that just passed in here. And unfortunately, the wood has all filled up this chest. And I even crated up a ton of wood manually just to try and slow this down. I'm probably just going to have to turn it off or do something to it. I mean, the wheat in here is filling up, and I crated a good amount of it. And hey, look at this. There are more apples that I could make stuff out of. I'm actually going to take a few more of these, and I'll do that. And this paper chest is not filling up yet because I haven't set this thing up. So I'm going to get to that. You know what? I'm going to get to it right now because I want to start getting paper. So I'm just going to put this down here and flip these levers. I've got 2 peat engines on this squeezer. It's going to take all these apples and turn them into cans of apple juice. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio. In fact, I think it's like a 4-to-1 ratio, actually. And you get a little byproduct mulch, which I have been storing in this chest over here. I can eventually use it for something, but for right now I'm just going to hang out in this little temporary forestry chest I left over here. Now here's something interesting. If you look into this default route chest, it started to fill up with wood because there's no more room in the other chest for wood. So I think for the time being I may just have to disable my tree farm. Sorry, guy. I mean, I'd like the apples, but there's just too much wood. I just can't have this much. So I'm going to throw it in my relay. At least the overflow. Not that I really need the EMC, but I'm going to let that farm get out of control. So that's why those levers are here. See, right now I'm running the wheat farm and the peat bog, and honestly I could probably safely turn both of these off. So just for posterity's sake, I'm going to take the remaining trees down manually, just so they're not hanging out here. And remove these saplings so they don't grow. I'll put them in the network, and when I flip the lever back on, it'll start up. So as you can see here, I made a to-do chest right in the middle of these other 2 chests, just so I wouldn't forget to do some stuff. And the first thing I'm going to start on is getting this sugarcane harvested. Now honestly, this sugarcane has been sitting here for hours. I've been chomping at the bit to set this up, but I really thought I ought to do this on camera. So here we go. Right in the middle here is where I'm going to place down my sugarcane harvester, which is a logger with sugarcane and glass. The logger, remember, being 4 diamonds in the starting machine. This other recipe being here from the rubber tree harvester, which isn't craftable anymore. It's just an old deprecated machine that they would allow you to turn back into a useful one in case you had upgraded from a previous version. Alright, so here's Mr. Sugarcane Harvester, and this guy will harvest 21 by 21 by 6. Now what that means basically is this guy will harvest 10 in this direction, 10 in that direction, and that direction. So, I made sure that there were 10 spaces in each direction that it could harvest. So this is the full size of a sugarcane farm that this thing can automatically harvest. Now, he is of course going to need Mr. Peat Engine, which I'm going to need to put peat in. So, I'm going to give him a supplier logistics pipe. And I'll need to connect this guy to the network. Which means digging back here and adding another teleport pipe. Oh, that's going to be a problem. So I'll just have to briefly remove one of these. Just put this pipe back on. And then attach this one, and call it Sugarcane Farm. And just plug this wall back up. I have something I want to do with these teleport pipes later. I want to make them a bit better somehow. Streamline the network with them. I might do it in between episodes and then just show you. I'll have to see. So connecting this now to Sugarcane Farm on true, this thing will be able to keep things stocked. Now, I didn't remember to grab any peat, so I'm going to request 2 peat. And right into the machine it goes. That was cool. Anyway, you keep 2 of it stocked. And it's already filled that request, I'll just throw 2 more in. Now, when this thing is on, which to turn it on, I'm going to be using one of these things, which the frequency I will set up in a minute. This block will harvest all sugarcane in the vicinity that has reached block 3 of height. So, it will immediately start working when I flip this on. And what will happen, the sugarcane will come out the side, and then I could simply pipe this over to here. So if I wanted, I could just pipe it like this, but I actually want to do something slightly more complicated. Oh, what's he doing? He's got an automatic crafting table in his hands. He's up to some mischief. He's absconded with the Triforce of Courage again. I'll give it back, I always do. Now for this, I'm gonna pipe this directly into an automatic crafting table. Just grab some reeds here. And tell it that 3 sugar canes equals 3 paper. So when this comes through here, and this just shuffles in, it will all get stuck in this inventory. And if I could just have it pull this out in good old-fashioned Buildcraft style, it should turn all of these into paper, come right along, hit this logistics pipe, and shoot off into that chest over there. So to test this, I'm going to need to set up a frequency. I'm going to call it Paper Factory number 5. So let's just go set that up. Then once it's done, Paper Factory control, I could just flip this lever and watch the goodness happen. It's harvesting them one by one, slowly but surely. It should harvest slightly faster than it can regrow. Sending them through the pipes. They're ending up in here. 1, 2, 3. To make 3 pieces of paper. And then the paper blissfully finds its way over to this. And boom, teleport piped. Over to here, where it is slowly filling up with paper. Rejoice, friends. I now have a paper factory. And you witnessed it. Give yourselves a hand. Now that that's done, I'm back at my to-do chest, and I'm going to grab this thing right here and craft it up. Electronic circuit, machine block, and 7 tin. To the canning machine. Wait, canning machine? What's that thing? Sounds useless. It's not useless, actually. Check this out. Now, I hooked up, this is a low voltage transformer, and it is wired. And I color-coded these so that they wouldn't touch. Although I don't know if it matters, but that's the input right on the bottom, and the output will be the top. So, boom. Mr. Canning Machine, who should be receiving current, but apparently you can't just put it directly on there. That complicates things a bit. I swear I got this working before somehow. Probably with a different machine. Anyway, this juice is done, so let's just take that. Used up all my apples to make juice. Wow, I got 2 full stacks of that. So I'm gonna rewire this and then get back to you in a bit. Okay, so I rewired this, and in the meantime I have the squeezer working on a more surplus of seeds to make seed oil. And this thing now, the medium voltage comes under here, goes below this cable because they're different colors. And the blue one comes around the back here on this 3-prong side. So out here we have low voltage. Now if I hook this up, it's getting power. There we go, canning machine, done. I'm just gonna fill this wall up now. So you might be saying to yourself, what exactly could this canning machine do? It certainly has a lot of spaces in it. What I'm gonna use it for right now is to make tin cans, 12 of them. I'm going to stick them in this bottom slot right here. And what I can do is I can take food and I can can it, put it into cans, and eat it later. So if I put bread in here, it'll take 1 bread and fill up 3 tin cans. The amount of cans filled up by the food you put in here is based off of the hunger value it restores, but it rounds up in the case of bread to 3. So now I have 12 filled cans of food. And these things are great because they have pretty high saturation. They restore 1 hunger point, and they will restore 1 heart point if you eat it when you don't have full health. So it's like a mini health kit if you're also hungry. But the nice thing about it is, I can just eat these as soon as I want, and I'm not really wasting much. And in fact, if I eat one every time there's 1 hunger missing, then I'm not actually wasting any. Die, Wisp. If I check in my miner's backpack, that Wisp just dropped an aqueous crystal when I killed it. This is significant because there's really no other way for me to get these, seeing as this terrain was generated before I had Thaumcraft installed. And I actually have a few other of these in a chest that when I need them, I will start using them. But they've all been dropping aqueous crystals in this ocean biome, so I won't have any actual Vis crystals to work with, just aqueous. Hey look, I'm hungry! So let's just take some damage. Right there, missing 4. See how that extra 1 comes up there? It's regenerating at a fairly normal rate, but it also gave me 1 additional heart when I ate it. But of course, I can't eat another one until I'm hungry again. But these are great to keep around when you're fighting, because then you can just pop one every time your hunger goes down, and it's pretty quick to eat, and then you don't have to sit there thinking, oh, I'm wasting all this chicken, or whatever. And actually, all food that gets canned comes out just as these filled tin cans. There aren't separate cans like cooked chicken cans, but it's very industrious, you know? Because to industrial craft, your body is a machine, and you must keep it running. There's no time to matter with trifles like flavor or edibility. Just simple sustenance to keep you alive. So this chest right down here is actually where I've been throwing my Thaumcraft stuff. You can see I also got a cracked wisp shell from a wisp before. And, you know, I threw some bookshelves in there. So if I put bread in here, it actually won't go until it has 3 empty cans, because it won't waste any. But if I put a melon in there, a melon is only worth 1 hunger bar, so it'll fill it right up. So from now on, I don't have to eat bread. I eat canned bread. Ugh. That doesn't sound very appetizing. But, you know, down the hatch. Nom nom nom. So I'm afraid that's it for this episode, and in the next episode, you could look forward to me doing something with this room. Those cobble gens are going to be put to work. And I'm going to get something nice in here. I'm going to have to get some power generation, and I'm only going to say that it's not going to be solar. So everybody, thanks for watching. Click the like button. Stay tuned. Sugarcane Lane. Sugarcane Lane. I think that's a song from the 80s.